Hello, and welcome to my show.
Hi, welcome to me. This video is kind of jumping ahead of the content that's scheduled to come out in the next 1 to 2 weeks, 1.5 weeks. I'm uploading it tonight as I'm editing it because I did my live yesterday and I wanted to provide an update so that way people weren't worrying. The TLDR of it all is I don't have a lot of answers. I got some things eliminated. I basically filmed a clip before I left the house and when I got home. That's what this video is. This isn't my normal content, obviously. But I just wanted to provide an update for the people that watched my live, for the people that have been messaging me, and wanting to know what's going on, because at this point, some things still need to be eliminated, and more tests have to be done, and more things have to be figured out. And I have a very limited time frame to work on these things, depending on how long I can afford to keep my insurance, juggling all these symptoms and all these problems, on top of figuring out how on earth I'm gonna work, let alone find a job, because that's what I have to do. And here's the video.
I believe Rosie needs no introduction here. I was doing my original primer video on Rosie, the longer form one, and I was noticing some things when looking up this original clip. Now in my original video, it's a very shortened version that I used to segue into her really huge list of diagnoses, but then upon researching further what she was talking about, because I had no clue what certain things were she was throwing around, like myoglobin proteins and such. So out of curiosity, I started to look them up. And that's when I found out some very interesting discrepancies regarding her diagnosis and what she claimed that she had. So I decided to sort of deep dive or retro react to this video of her health update. I still have quite a bit of problems with the title of this video because she is claiming she has an autoimmune disease, and there's something very key that she mentions in this video about her ANA blood work being negative, which would indicate her to have an autoimmune disease. But in reality, you having a negative ANA is a normal reading and would indicate that you do not have an autoimmune disease. Now, I would play the devil's advocate here, and maybe Rosie didn't understand what she was being told, or maybe she misspoke, but there have been several videos where Rosie has claimed autoimmune diseases and such after this video. I mean, this video is 2 years old. So I still am cutting out the parts where she's, going on and on about stories about her crying and people asking her what's wrong, and her mom texting her and how her mom was supposed to be there to help her take notes. So to continue to play the devil's advocate, maybe she's at a crackpot clinic. She misunderstood. She, maybe got some things confused when she was making her video. But since we all know Rosie, we all know what might be the truth. So let me go ahead and start playing the clips again where she's talking about the specific things that she's been cleared for and the things that are concerning. And when necessary, I will pause the video and put text on screen and also talk a little bit about what we're seeing. Now, of course, a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, but I am using the information that Rosie is providing to us in her video about her diagnosis that she claims she's being told by medical professionals. So in no way do I claim to be the only knowledgeable source you can go to. You can look up the stuff on your own. Of course, everyone's health is different, and I am not trying to say that I know exactly what's wrong with her, but towards the end, I'll explain what I think are some huge underlying issues. So
I just got home. The TLDR is that we're not done. The good news is that it is likely, most likely, like 95% not likely to be cancer issues. So that's good. There's confirmation that there is something wrong. I have multiple inflammatory markers that are very, very high that explain a lot of my problems. A lot of my fatigue seems to be fueled by my extremely low iron.
I do have her sped up here because sometimes she can get a little long-winded. Now, what she starts saying is that she more than likely does not have cancer, and she has to restate that it's probably more than likely, 95% more than likely not cancer. So we'll just assume that she does not have cancer here, which to her is good news, as I think it would be with anyone. Now, she does say there are some things wrong. She has multiple inflammatory markers. Now, that's very vague. Having multiple inflammatory markers in your blood test could mean that your immune system is responding to tissue damages, illness, or stress. So, unless she specifies what markers are high, then we can't really assume anything further past here. But I believe in this video that she does discuss what level is high. I'm not sure if there's more because, like I said, we don't have her blood work to look at. But she does also mention that her fatigue is due to her low iron. Now, I want to make a note on something because she likes to say that she has anemia. I'm someone who has been diagnosed with anemia. Friends in my family, my mom has it, my grandmother has it. Because you are low iron does not mean you're anemic, Rosie. I don't know if she ever officially got a diagnosis for that, but low iron does not automatically mean you're anemic. However, you can have a lot of fatigue and shortness of breath from low iron. Now, there could be multiple things on why she has low iron. She could not be getting enough in her diet. She could have blood loss or absorption problems, but let's continue watching and see what she says about any of the higher level indicators in her blood work.
I meant to ask her if that classified me as anemic or not, because I don't know the difference. I don't know if anemia is just low iron or if there's something else to anemia. I don't know. But my iron is extremely low.
I basically cut out about 6 minutes of how Rosie went on about her anxieties and feelings in the waiting room. While I can sympathize with another person about being the day that you find out if you have cancer or not, it just seemed really gross the way Rosie was making a spectacle in the waiting room and talking about, how she was crying and drawing attention to herself even though she didn't want to, and she was really upset, and just all these stressors, right? And she had mentioned something about her mom not being there to take notes for her. I could understand that maybe if she truly was worried, that would be a little bit upsetting. But she's sitting there, getting ass pats from cancer patients about her, diagnoses that she's about to get when she gets called back. And I think she knows she doesn't have cancer at this point. I think a lot of us can agree. And it is kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. The title of the video didn't sit right with me. And this whole charade that she talked about in the waiting room, I cut it out because it's actually really kind of relevant to the video, and it would be upsetting, especially if you were a person that suffered from anything.
And then when I saw the doctor and I found out that my myoglobin protein, something like that is spiked when it should be not even elevated in any capacity. It's a very minor spike. And that's really the only blood work that I got that could indicate possible C-word stuff. But in conjunction with all my other work, it can also indicate autoimmune issues. So they need to do further testing on that to confirm. So there's a very minuscule chance that it could come back in that way, but it's so small that it's more than likely these tests will just clear me fully. So I'm gonna just go on that, because the main blood tests, like the test for leukemia and other things like that, did come back negative. The ANA did come back negative, which a negative ANA can also be an indicator for fibro in conjunction with eliminating other things and other tests. I did get a referral to a rheumatologist, and I'm gonna have to figure that out tomorrow and figure out if I can afford my Cobra long enough to get answers, because the reason I'm pursuing this so aggressively is my symptoms are getting worse.
So here's where things start to get interesting. She states that she has a small spike in her myoglobin levels. I mean, when she said spike, it made it seem like it was a large spike, but she said it was a small spike in her myoglobin levels that would indicate C issues, which I think she's referring to cancer. Now, some things to know about this is that a sudden spike in myoglobin levels does not correlate with cancer. So there's that. Another thing I want to point out that I don't think she's going to mention is that I don't know Rosie's exact weight here. But I do know that she is apparently now in future time quite larger than she probably was in this video, according to the pictures that I've seen. Now, something she's probably not going to mention, and she did mention, I think, earlier in the video that they, did her weight and blood pressure. But a extremely high myoglobin level most frequently points to pressure-indicated muscle breakdown, which is, oh my god, forgive me, rhabdomyolysis. Oh my god, put that on screen. Because of the body's own weight. So, her levels being that high are more than likely related to her weight. Now, if you want to know what a high myoglobin level is, or what it means for you, it basically means that heart or skeletal muscle tissue has been damaged. Now, this could be anything from stress to a fall to injuries, or being prone for too long and being overweight. This also is a huge indicator or an early indicator for a heart attack on certain congenital heart problems. But without any exact numbers or anything like that, we can only assume by what the information that she's given us. So why the weight elevates the myoglobin levels is the pressure necrosis. Sustained pressure from resting in one position compresses muscles, cuts off blood flow, and destroys the tissue. She's got severe strain on her joints. Any minor fall or anything where she gets a tear in her joints can cause a huge problem. She could have sleep apnea, which I know she talks about having insomnia, but I wouldn't be surprised if she does have sleep apnea, which also could raise your myoglobin levels. Like I said, the other huge critical risks for this, aside from heart attack, are acute kidney problems. Excess myoglobins are toxic and can clog and damage the kidneys. Electrolyte imbalances damage muscles, releases dangerous amounts of potassium into the bloodstream. I laugh at this because she buys a lot of those electrolyte drinks, which kind of makes you face palm, and you're like, Rosie, you don't need electrolytes. You in fact probably have an electrolyte misbalance. And too much potassium is actually a bad thing. Too little potassium is actually a bad thing. I know this for a fact. So she can also have compartment syndrome. Severe muscle swelling can trap blood flow in limbs, and that can require emergency medical care. Now, Rosie's never been in the hospital for a very, very long time. She's visited, sure. But all this kind of points to her health and her diet. So like I said, no sudden spikes in myoglobin levels do not correlate with cancer, so I think we can 100% rule out cancer. And she said she was cleared for leukemia, which is good. I don't want anybody to have cancer or leukemia. That's awful. Usually, if the spike happens instead of cancer, it's because of an injury from the patient's own body weight while compressing the muscles, or she's got a muscle tear. So, I don't know, Rosie. I think your glaring issue about what you might need to work on is this. Now, I know this video is 2 years old and she's been on some kind of health journey, but it looks like she's getting worse, and she's young, right? She's 34, I believe. However, yes, high myoglobin spikes can indicate autoimmune issues, specifically a group of autoimmune issues known as inflammatory myopathies or myotosis. Now, what is myotosis, you ask? I don't know. I don't have an inflammatory disease, but myotosis is a general medical term for inflammation of the muscles you use to move your body. Most types of autoimmune conditions where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks healthy muscle tissues. So what does this really mean for Rosie? Well, it means she might have to go get an extended myositis panel, checking for those hidden muscle-specific antibodies to see if she does have an autoimmune disease. Because that is like what would be the next case scenario, or would be the final scenario. However, given her weight is so high and she has a negative ANA, medical team will likely weigh two preliminary possibilities, which is scenario A, most likely is what it is, pressure or physical pressure injury. The spike is entirely mechanical, which means it's due to her weight. The immense physical strain, prolonged immobility, or unassisted positioning has compressed muscle tissue, cutting off blood flow and causing rhabdomyolysis, independent of the immune system. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these things. I don't speak too well. And like I said, scenario B is the seronegative autoimmune myositis, which the patient has an autoimmune for muscle condition that doesn't trigger a standard ANA test. So this is probably what she means about getting more panels done. But the thing here that has me concerned is that she made the ANA, the negative ANA, out to be like she's got something, when the negative ANA is a perfectly normal reading for an ANA. She also did say she does need to see a rheumatologist, and for those of you who don't know what a rheumatologist is, it's an internal medicine physician who has completed specialized training in diagnosing and treating musculoskeletal, big words are hard, conditions and systematic autoimmune diseases. They're experts in managing chronic pain, swelling, and inflammation affecting the joints, muscles, and any connective tissues. So actually seeing a rheumatologist would be very, very good for her, and a rheumatologist would, at her weight, probably prioritize the aggressive joint protection and to reduce inflammatory. She will have to get on a multidisciplinary care plan tailored to extreme medical stress because, like I said, I believe that all of this is pointing to her weight and her diet and how she doesn't treat herself. And even her rheumatologist, if she ever saw one, would tell her, hey, you need to work on your weight first, because that's what's going to help bring down a lot of your symptoms. And if your symptoms are getting worse, well, I mean, look what else is getting worse, all right? So, I mean, she has a pool. Like, aquatic physical therapy is like one of the best things you can do for people who are extremely obese or morbidly obese, like Rosie and the girls. It helps them from putting on that weight and stress on their joints and knees and hips and lower back, and because of the buoyancy in the water. Like, it is so good. Why Rosie insists on going out in the pool, floating and talking shit instead of actually doing any exercises is beyond me. I would kill to have a pool, all right? Like, kill to have a pool in my backyard. They're expensive and upkeep sucks, but she sits there and does half laps for money. Rosie, honey, do laps for your life or something. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. But anyways, let's continue to see what else she has to say.
And I really do want to get a full-time job again. But if I don't know what I'm dealing with and I don't have ways of treating it, I don't know if I'll be able to maintain working because of how disabled I am by my autoimmune symptoms. And so eliminating the blood cancer is part of that process. Eliminating lupus and rheumatoid arthritis happened in 2021. That's a part of that process. I don't even know what else will need to be checked for or eliminated, and they probably need to retest me for those things because the symptoms have gotten worse. So, and as the specialist told me today, they can potentially be markers for, or it can potentially, reflect positive now versus then if it was like too soon to test it, I guess, or however she said that. And I wasn't even able to do the infusion today or whatever it's called. I think I've been calling it a transfusion or when it's actually an infusion or vice versa. I keep getting that term mixed up. I don't know if it matters. I don't know. I don't know. With all the stress of everything, it's causing the inflammation pain to be so much worse. And, so it is nice to know for a fact that my blood work has proven that I am not making up my pain and that my inflammation pain and all of these issues that I have, all this fatigue, all of these problems, they all of them show that I've got something wrong with me. Like, when all these people have been saying that, like, I'm making up in my head, I'm just making up excuses, I'm just trying to, whatever they want to do to discount me because I'm fat and because whatever their fucking reasons are, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. But just to know that they are wrong and that no matter what they say, I have paper proof that they're just full of fucking shit and that they are discounting my very real pain and health issues.
Oh boy, here we go. So in the beginning of this clip that we just watched here, she said she doesn't know what she's dealing with. For starters, right? Her blood work has cleared her of cancer. Her blood work has told her nothing about her having an autoimmune disease. In fact, like I said, an ANA generally indicates you do not have one. But she should still get tested and get other tests done. Or, I'm sorry, negative ANA is not bad. And she doesn't have cancer. She doesn't have lupus. She doesn't have leukemia. All right. She's been told all of these things she doesn't have. Right. But she still has a lot of answers. She still has a lot of questions. She still needs to get a lot of tests, which is understandable because sometimes it's very frustrating to go through this health process, figuring out what you have wrong with you and seeing specialists and doctors. It's not fun. It's not easy at times, especially if you don't have the financial support, which she is complaining about. I'll hit on a little bit of that later, but she gets a little high and mighty towards the end of this clip about how she's been vindicated and she's proven everybody wrong and she's got the papers. Well, Rosie, proceed to give us the papers. Like, let us see the papers. All right? It's not going to tell us anything except prove us wrong, right? Technically, you shouldn't have to give anybody your papers, but Rosie's history and how she is, and it's 2 years later and she has not gotten it looked at and had only complained about it getting worse. Well, do you know why it's getting worse, right? Because you're not doing anything about it. You're gaining more weight. And, you go to a rheumatologist, Rosie, the first thing they're going to do is address your weight. And they're going to say, hey, we need to get your weight down so that we can rule out other things, because your weight is showing us that you're having these symptoms which look like they might be autoimmune issues. So you need to lose the fucking weight so they can rule out the other issues. All right. And second, I don't think we got to the part where she talked about fibromyalgia yet. So I'm going to hold off on my notes for that. I'm also not even sure if she understood her specialist or her specialist was telling her too much information here, because she's very back and forth with like what her specialist said and what her specialist meant and all this other stuff. So she's really back and forth with this. And I don't understand why she say it is nice to know for a fact that her blood work has proven everything she said, because Rosie, your blood work has disproven your cancer claims. Disproven lupus, disproven leukemia. Your ANA is negative, all right? You need more blood work to prove anything. So actually, Rosie, this didn't prove shit other than you don't have cancer, which is great and fantastic. So I don't understand why you're soapbox Rosie right now, when you literally are kind of at a stalemate with, the information that you need with what you've claimed. So until we fully get more of that information, you can't sit there and say, I've got everything I need. It's in paper form and I don't give a fuck, right? Well, and she's like, well, my symptoms are only getting worse. Well, is your weight gaining? Yeah. Like I said, this is a 2-year-old video. And when you look back on Rosie now, scooting around in her kitchen, eating the most. I don't want to talk about the recent video with her and Remy and the 5-day-old pizza because that made my stomach turn. All right. I mean, glad they're there, but all right. You're not doing anything to improve yourself, right? You're waiting for diagnoses when I won't say 100%, but 95% guarantee you go to see a doctor and they will tell you lose weight, Rosie. That will help your symptoms. Once you lose weight, we can identify if you actually have a problem because your weight makes it hard or harder to identify issues. Because you having that kind of weight is a huge indicator of all the problems that you're having. And you don't want to hear that. Rosie is probably like Foodie. She'll jump from doctor to doctor until she hears someone someone will tell her something she wants to hear. But this is why having health insurance is so important for her, because without it, she can't doctor hop. And she's paying for a Cobra. Now, let me power level here for a minute. I have lost my job before, and I can't afford Cobra. Like, Cobra's ass expensive. It's crazy that they're like, you want to continue your health insurance? Give us $800. Haha, I don't have $800. Y'all just fired me. All right? So you probably still have health insurance for about a month, right? And you'll scramble to get anything you need done. Well, when I lost my job, my doctor worked with me. I told her, hey, I lost my job, but, I have health issues that I continuously need to keep track of. And she understood that. So my doctor would work with me. Like, for example, I don't care if this is TMI. If it is, you guys need to grow up. But when it came to my well moments, I made sure I get that every single month. She charged me $90 for it. And you're like, $90? It's free with health insurance. Yeah, but remember, I lost my job. I didn't take Cobra. So I was paying out of pocket. So she charged me $90 for the pap smear. And then she checked my chesticles for breast cancer. And then she re-upped my birth control. She did all that for me for $90 once a year. And I'm sorry, if you can't afford $90 once a year just to pay, I don't know, what are you doing? All right. There are clinics that do it for free too, by the way. And then you can get cheap birth control, or I don't know, use abstinence or other birth control. I don't want to get into that. If y'all be doing ho shit, do ho shit or whatever. But anyways, she gave me a coupon for my birth control. It cost me $20 every month. It used to be free with my health insurance, but that's how I manage. And every time I had to see her for when I was sick, it was $90, unfortunately. So I tried not to stay sick. Sometimes I could call her and tell her my symptoms, and she would just be chill and write a prescription for, an antibiotic or anything like that, and just kind of help me out. Me and my dad actually have the same doctor, and we've actually piggybacked. If I was like sick with like a congestive thing or a cold or something like that, she usually was kind of chill about that. But also, Rosie, there are programs that you can look into. There's prescription discounts and all that kind of stuff, but you're too lazy to do it. You don't want to do the work to help yourself. And like the easiest thing you can do, and probably technically the freest thing you can do, is work on your weight. Get in that pool. Find YouTube pool exercises for bariatrics or something. Like, you have everything at your fingertips. You're in a house where you pay minimal rent. All right. And let's be clear here. We've all had our parents help us out when we've had a rough time. I've lost my job and had to move back in with my dad because I couldn't afford my apartment. And we've all paid our parents a little bit of rent while we're living at home, because let's be fair. Like, living alone sucks sometimes it doesn't. But anyways, I'm digressing from a lot of things right here and going off into other Rosie issues, but I'm just saying, Rosie, the help's there. You're just too lazy to do it, and you expect people to get it to you. I believe she can't get disability because I wonder why she doesn't have the diagnoses to get disability. And then I'm sure that turns into a whole other thing. So let's continue out this clip. I think we're almost done. Like I said, I cut out a lot of the stuff that was just her talking about the waiting room. So we'll wrap this up, and you'll have to stop hearing me in my sick and unable to enunciate things voice.
And I don't know what's gonna happen. After the first month, my Cobra payments are gonna be like $800 a month. And I've hit my deductible, but all this shit is so expensive. So, the game plan is when Monday comes, I'm going to start significantly putting effort into the job hunting, and interviewing, and just making it happen and pushing myself again, as I do. Because I don't give up. And I am very thankful that it's not cancer, but I have my own emotions about those other parts of it. The parts that I don't have answers to yet. The parts that may have no cure, that may have no real thing to do other than to mitigate it. The parts that, you know, once I know, I'll work with. It's just nice to know that, yet again, I'm proven to be right about myself. Because realistically, it's probably going to end up, if I'm able to afford to do everything I need to do, that I will get diagnosed with fibro or one of the things that's supposed to be eliminated before fibro. Because autoimmune issues are their own thing. And on top of everything, I have a gynecology appointment in mid-May, so as soon as I can get in, because my specialist, the hematologist today, confirmed that I still need to get cervical cancer eliminated. Gang. So let's just hope it's not that. I'm so tired of being strong. I'm so done with the need to be strong.
So what does this all boil down to? Rosie needs to be diagnosed with something that is not her fault. She has alleviated to her depression, causing her obesity, not the fact that she has severe food issues. She is still doing feeder content, just hidden under the veil of being an innocent YouTuber, and that her obesity is not the cause of the CVC receipt list of issues that are wrong with her. This isn't about getting down the issues causing her problems. Okay, I wrote that funny. This isn't about getting that list down of the issues causing her problems. It's about the attention, the sympathy, and the manipulation. I will not deny Rosie has issues with food or some underlying mental issue, but a lot of this can be fixed if she gets past the delusion and accepts the real issues is that she needs therapy, and not from some quack TikTok therapist. And she needs to acknowledge that her weight is an issue instead of ignoring it and blaming something else. She also needs to take her money and put it towards actually getting the testing she needs. There are plenty of services out there where you can get insurance even though you are not employed. You might as well face the fact that you clearly don't want to do the work, and you don't do the work to better yourself. You just look for something else to be wrong as long as it doesn't point back to you. As crass as it may sound or counterproductive for her, if you need money that bad, saddle up to the trough, Rosie, and do what you do best and get that bag. I don't know, don't spend money on Prime Day sales full of junk drink mixers and fake nails, or maybe have your supporters donate to a medical fund through a service that will track and make sure you don't spend it on more fucking nails and shit like that. I will never not harp on the nail thing, by the way. I know big girls like nails, they think it makes their hands look slim, but they're annoying, and the clacking and the uppity attitude that it brings them, and none of them look good, okay? Like the finger clapping, the attitude, the nails on the camera, all that drives me crazy. Nails are the least of your worries, okay? While I understand doing these things makes yourself look good and makes you feel better, in the grand scheme of things, are nails and crystals and stupid danglies for your glasses really that important? Ultimately, I don't care how you spend your money or what you do with your life. I'm here to watch and react. But it's the disgusting display and misinformation in this video that really is one of the pillars that makes Rosie so insufferable and manipulative to unsuspecting communities. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm using the information that you presented to the internet, Rosie, and I in turn doing my own research. So if you have issues with any of it, take it up with your own lies and misinformation. I'll see you guys again later, and eventually my longer video on Rosie will be out soon. TM.